Hey, what is up YouTube? Coach Ashes here bringing you another video. Now, a little bit ago, maybe like, let's see, today's the 11th. I did it on the 30th. So it's been almost 2 weeks since I tweeted out a Ask Ashes prompt on Twitter. And, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done an Ask Ashes. We've got a lot going on. As you can see, I'm in a new room, a new space, a new house, actually, and I'll be uploading a house tour once I get things kind of finalized and settled in. As I said, it's been a while since I've done an Ask Ashes, and that's why you guys are here, to get your questions answered that I had you guys ask almost 2 weeks ago. I apologize for the delay. The move has been quite hectic, and getting this room set up has been quite hectic as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the questions. Question number 1 from Radicals. What's something you want to see change before the first PGL LAN? I'm assuming you mean in-game, and I think the first thing or the main thing that I want to see change is I would like to see some sort of change to the weapon placement system. Right now, the meta is you have to copy what the other team is doing. There are some teams that are putting a Marksa down on center line just to kind of change up the fight. They're not a fan of like the Marksa meta, and rightfully so. The Marksas are pretty broken, and this is just my opinion. Like, Marksas are broken, shock flash grenades are kind of broken, but anyways, the weapon placement meta, you pretty much have to copy what the other team's doing. If they're building something on one side of the map, you kind of have to mirror that, and so on. So I'd like to see there be more real depth. Right now, there's a lot of perceived depth to the weapon placement system. I'd like to see more added. Delicive asks, do you think some players who don't have common sense shouldn't be able to play ranked until they know the game, particularly to the Game Pass players who have never played the ranked game of Gears before, or who have never played a game of Gears before? I think there needs to be something that teaches you the game, that forces you to learn the game and the game modes before you're actually sitting down and playing in a ranked playlist, especially Escalation. If Escalation is going to be, projected as the end-all be-all of esport playlist, competitive playlist for Gears, I'm fine with that. I like the game mode. I just think that there needs to be some sort of forced mandatory tutorial that teaches you how to do it. So maybe you have to reach a certain account level, or maybe you have to have, maybe there's a casual Escalation playlist that is like a little bit more forgiving with aim assist, and it teaches you the game mode, just so people can get used to it. And you have to have, so many, it's such a certain rank before you unlock. I don't know. I'm sure there's a creative way to do it, and I think it needs to be implemented, but at the same time, we don't want to scare away a broader player base. Coach Taylor, shout out to Coach Taylor, asked, throughout your career, what's your proudest moment, the biggest lessons learned, and advice for future coaches? My proudest moment would probably be Boston, the Gears of War 4, the last event of Gears of War 4, Boston Open. That event just meant so much to me because it was the last event of Gears. It was the one that kind of sealed like our dynasty. Like, everything that we did in Gears 4 like was fantastic, but it all came down to that moment. If we didn't win that tournament, then anybody could be like, yeah, they were the greatest team in Gears 4, sure, but are they the greatest team now because they lost the last tournament of Gears 4? So I really wanted that, like, sealing the deal, like sealing the envelope for Gears 4, and like confirming that like everything we did was like we were the best, like hands down by far. So that was probably my proudest moment. Especially, we had also been getting beat up in scrims for 2 weeks beforehand, so it was looking rough, and then we just showed up when it mattered. Biggest lesson learned is early on to be okay. Biggest lessons learned for my career is there's a lot of people in esports who are trying to take advantage of other people. I've always been the type of person who tried to give people the benefit of the doubt and tried to be like open and kind and trusting, and it's hurt me a lot. Not like, oh my god, my ex hurt me, that kind of way. More of just like it set me back in my career a lot. And I think doing that, I'm glad that I've always stuck to who I am as a person. Somebody who's going to look out for other people's best interests, I think, is what makes me a good manager. and a good player manager. And, you know, my guys always know that I'm going to do my best to take care of them. But it's definitely like hurt me some trusting people, or not getting things in writing. And it's just lessons learned as a professional. Advice for future coaches: don't be afraid to be flexible. Coaches are constantly developing and learning and honing their own craft, just like you're helping players hone their own. So you have to make sure that, you know, you're willing to learn and grow as a person and a coach in your role, just as much as the players that you work with need to be willing to learn and grow in their role. And I think that is a healthy balance that like my team has. You know, they know that I'm open to feedback and criticism and growth, and at the same time they're open to the same. So it's really important for coaches. Otherwise you just sound like this kind of dictator asshole who people don't want to listen to. Ortegan asks why pro players use pair of earbuds and headphones at the same time in comp. It's because it's only at LAN events, and it's because all of our sound goes through the earbuds, and then the headphones are noise cancellation. They have white noise being pumped into them, so we can't hear the crowd or the casters. JD asks opinion about Gears 5 maps for competitive play, and name 2 or 3 maps from past games that could be good for competitive. I like the maps. There are some that are a little bit rougher than others. I think that there are some maps that are needing some balancing. Like District is too open for me. Icebound's kind of too one-dimensional. Even though I don't mind it, it's too one-dimensional. Old Gears maps I'd like to see come back. I think Jacinto would be really cool. People have been saying Stasis, but I never really enjoyed that map. I don't think I can name 2 or 3, but Jacinto definitely would be a map that I could see being really fun in Gears 5 for competitive. Coach Crazy Train, if you could coach any team in an esports that isn't your current roster, who would it be? I've always said that if, like, for some reason Gears didn't work out, I would want to go back to League of Legends. If I knew the language, I would love to work with Korean League of Legends players, just because I think like they have such a good discipline and respect to the game, and like their culture has such a respect towards elders and towards teachers. But at the same time, I don't know if that would be, like, realistically that wouldn't happen. So League of Legends would definitely be up there for me. I'd love to coach in League. I love understanding the meta, and there's a lot more to be creative with. Look at G2 Esports from Europe, for example. Their team is just constantly coming up with new and interesting ways to win the game. So I think League of Legends would be where I'd want to go. A team in particular, I'm not sure. I would be open to I'd be open to Call of Duty. I've actually had people ask me about switching to Call of Duty. But it's something that's interesting, but it's not like something that I want to do yet, unless like a crazy option came along that like I literally just couldn't turn down. Corey asks, hey, I'm curious, but why do you like Gears of War so much? It was kind of one of my first games. Halo and Gears were like my first shooter games for Xbox that were like, they were my first Xbox Live games. Halo 3, Halo 2, and then Gears of War were like my first games where I was playing online with other people, and I was just like captivated by that. And Gears was so different, and it took such skill to get involved in. League of Legends is still my favorite game, but Gears of War, I just always had a special place in my heart. Stormed Body asks, are you ready for the 39-year-old phenom to come back? Of course, who's not? Kane Cade asks, what separates good Gears player from a great one? Great ones have great decision making. They're great communication. They have great skills. Players like Explosive are mental. They're not afraid to take risks, and they calculate those risks in the blink of an eye, and they make their plays accordingly. And They're not afraid to say, hey, we messed up, or that was bad, or that was good, or whatever the case may be. But we have a saying that we say a lot in our team: chances make champions, and it's true. Acidic Jigsaw, what does it take to have the skill of a pro player or coach? Well, pro players need a lot of good reaction time. They need good, hand-eye coordination. They need to be able to actually play the game well. Some players they can be good gamers and just not good at gears because it's not the easiest. You have to have a good understanding. You have to have a passion for it. If you don't, that's really the core thing. If you don't have like a passion for the game, then it's going to be hard for you to do your best. It's just one of those things where, like, if you don't love it, then you're not going to put your all into it. Quincy asks, best way to go over streams and watching rebroadcast and improve yourself and your team. How to actually study a map and prepare for your scrim stuff in that area. So I'm guessing you're not meaning technologically, though technologically, as a team, we use Discord. You can just share, you can do a private call with as many people as you want, I think, and then you can share screen. So I can have the VOD and then open it up, watch the video on my computer. It shares the screen with them. It's pretty quick and instant. There's not really too much of a delay. It's really good to just look at the overall flow of the map. What's not individual mistakes and stuff. Some of those can be the game-changing individual mistakes can be important, but not every time, oh, you missed this shot, so it took you 4 shots to kill this guy instead of 3. That's not a huge deal. Look at the things that causes influence on the round in the game. That's what I try to look for. I look for the things that are, what are the team plays or the individual plays that made us lose a round or win a round? How can we do those less or more? And then looking at the rotations of teams, what every play on a Gears of War map, because of the symmetry, the plays are broadcasted. You see numbers get stacked on one side, they're going to push that side. So learning to recognize those and understand how to react accordingly are important as well. John K, how would you fix the game if you were the devs? The ranking system would be the first thing I'd hit. The Marks is broken, it's OP, the Boltock's OP, the flash grenades are OP, even though they just adjusted those a little bit ago. But the ranked matchmaking is abysmal right now, and it needs serious addressing, or we're going to be in another situation like Gears 4, unfortunately. Sammy Nazari, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. What are your thoughts on Hex joining NRG? Best of luck in Gears 5. Thank you. I was blown away. I was amazed. I was excited because Hex, even though we didn't get to interact with him as much as we wanted to, and especially me personally, because my passion is player management and esports management, and he has always been he and what he created with Optic has always been kind of a dream and a goal. Obviously joining Optic was a dream and a goal, and part of that was because I wanted to learn from him, and he's the one who sparked my interest in content, doing things like this. So I wanted to in the dream world, it was I would join Optic and he would recognize that I have this passion, and he would take me under his wing as his protege, and I would learn so much from him. And that option didn't happen. And then the whole civil war went down, and I was probably on the wrong side of the civil war, trying to pull the two sides together and not doing a good job, and yeah, it didn't work out the way it did. So I'm hoping him joining NRG and him I'm always excited for his fresh ideas and perspectives, and I'm hoping that this is an opportunity that I can have that protege moment, or moments, I guess, because seriously, he's one of the best, if not the best, at what he does. He's fucking amazing. Would you ever coach a different team? I mean, if I got dropped, sure. Yeah, I would coach a different team. I would want full control over a roster, I think. I don't really like the full roster of many, if any, other teams in Gears. And if we're talking outside the game, then yeah, of course. I mean, again, if I got dropped or something happened where there was an offer that I just absolutely could not refuse, then it would be something I would look at. But I mean, I've had options to switch back to League in the past, especially when we were moving to Texas. I had the option to go to California and to manage the League of Legends team for Optic, and I turned it down to stay with the core of Optic and to stay with the Gears team. What should be mastered first by a new player? Movement or shooting and aiming? In Gears 5, 100% shooting and aiming. In fact, in pretty much all games, shooting and aiming, because you can move as much as you want, but if you're not hitting a shot, it doesn't do you any good. So I would say master the aiming first and then slowly implement the movement. Alex Buick, Helios Corrupt. I'll just go with Helios Corrupt. How are you enjoying NRG? I love it. They're treating us amazingly. They're doing everything like that I like hoped for and more. So we absolutely love it here. All of us do. Travis Jenkins, how do you feel about aim assist and bullet magnetism in this game? All right, I'm gonna clarify this kind of once and for all. Aim assist, I don't think aim assist should be on any playlist that's ranked. So King of the Hill, TDM, all those playlists that are ranked, it shouldn't have it. All the casual ones, I'm fine with it. It makes sense. Help players get into the game and then kind of shift them over gradually into the competitive side if that's what they choose. Bullet magnetism isn't as much of a thing as people think. Like those videos that went around the time that this tweet went out about the bullet magnetism and like, oh my god, look how far away I'm aiming, and it's a perspective thing. And for those of you who clearly didn't take trigonometry in high school, sorry, I'm getting worked up. Okay. Where your character is and where the camera is are two different spots, right? Because it's a third-person shooter. So if you have this thing as your character and this thing is the camera, there's kind of like a depth difference that you can kind of see here, right? So, or we'll even use the microphone. Microphone's the camera, this is the character. So it's going to line up differently. So your reticle is here, but the angle, it's the way the angles work. It's making a triangle rather than like they're lined up perfectly. So it's not bullet magnetism as much as it is like the way the camera angles work in a third-person shooter, and people don't seem to understand that. There might be a little bit of bullet magnetism for like a lag compensation thing. I'm sure there is, but it's not as dramatic as people are freaking out about, and so I'm fine with it. And this wasn't me getting worked up at you, Travis. This is just in general, people are talking about it a lot. Harrison Good said, what are your thoughts on Gears 5 so far? Will you make a video talking about it? Well, here's that video. I'll probably actually do another video. There's a lot that it's so sad and exciting at the same time, because it's like Gears 5 has everything it needs to be the best Gears game ever. Like the core gameplay of it is fun, but everything around that core gameplay feels like it's just been a letdown after a letdown. The item shop and the prices, the rewards, the matchmaking, the rank system, the servers, it's just one thing after another. It just feels like constant letdowns around this core gameplay that's really good. So all of that stuff is fixable. It's really easily fixable. It just requires people being like making the right decisions, and I'm hoping they do, but you know, who knows. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you asked, was Hex involved in the NRG move? Well, you said the RNG move, but I'm assuming you meant the NRG move. No, our decision was way before we even knew Hex was talking. I mean, I'm sure they reached out and asked him, like, you know, what his experience was with us, as I know other orgs did. But the decision to join NRG had nothing to do with Hex. We had no idea. It was a complete surprise to us, and an exciting one at that. So, yeah, I kind of got lucky, I guess. I mean, maybe they had a master plan or something, but for us, it was just we joined NRG, and then next thing we know, Hex is coming on as co-CEO. So it's exciting. Kyle Hoffman, you asked the same thing. I already answered that. Marco, do you like how punishable it is to make mistakes in Gears 5 compared to Gears 4? Yes, you should get punished for making mistakes, assuming that the other player catches you making them. So I'm glad the punishment is there in this game as opposed to Gears 4. Jay Flip, do you think PC players should be allowed to compete in the PGL tourneys? If so, should there be... No, I'm not even gonna... No. PC players should not be able to compete in the... I mean, the rules say PC players are not allowed to compete. It also says you have to play on an Xbox One console with a controller, so you can't use mouse or keyboard. Mouse and keyboard has advantages. You have freer movement. You have, in terms of your aim, it's easier to aim. It's just a more free control system compared to the axes of a thumbstick. On top of that, PCs have all of their power. Like, you know, assuming that you have a good PC, you have more power than a console. So I'm literally loading into games 10 to 15 seconds before people on Xbox Ones. There's just advantages to PC, and then even more advantages to mouse and keyboard. Right now, I play PC with a controller. I don't think if they're going to set a competitive standard, set it all to one thing, and it makes sense for it to be Xbox. Jason Pantoja, what are downfalls that you feel you have as a coach, and what do you do to improve yourself? What could either new coaches or players to Gears take into consideration when watching VOD? One question or other, not just one massive one. I'll answer both. Downfalls I feel I have as a coach, and what do I do to improve myself? I feel like there's times where I let emotion get too involved. I get frustrated or I get angry. A lot of the times it has to do with when I see my players not trying. Like when I know that they're better than how they're playing, and they're just either because of poor decisions in terms of like not getting enough sleep or whatever the case may be, I see them not performing at what I expect from them, and I then get frustrated because it feels like it's a waste of my time and theirs, and I hate that. So a fault of mine is I let that emotion get too involved, and then my tone changes and my demeanor changes, it's something I really need to work on. In order to improve that, I try to just I've started meditating and just trying to keep a clearer head and focusing on what I can control and not what I can't, and trying to implement more structure into our team. What could either new coaches or players to Gears take into consideration when watching VOD? Honestly, watch what the pro teams do. Watch like what we do and why it works. Don't just watch it for entertainment value and then copy it. You know, if you look at pros, a lot of like Gears pros just had a favorite player and they tried to copy what they did. League of Legends pros had a favorite team and they tried to copy what that team did. And it's pretty much true in every game. So mimic what your favorite team or like what a top team does, and then figure out why you can't achieve it the same way and fix those mistakes, and then you're on the right path. Shaquille Evanson asks, so why is it that a lot of players, pro and non-pro, complain about the game? Why don't we just adjust and appreciate that TC is trying their best to please this community? Your thoughts on this? I think it's that question kind of boils down to a lot of things. I think there's this older generation of players who everybody has their nostalgic favorites, right? Like the games or the moments that you just wish you could relive. But a lot of people don't understand that the magic of that moment wasn't necessarily the game. It was a lot of things coming together. It was the excitement of your age at the time and the people you were with and the game. And if you look at Gears 1 compared to Gears 5, Gears 1 was not a good game. It was, and just comparatively, because it that the way technology has developed in the last 10 plus years, it just wasn't a good game and compared to Gears 5, right? It just felt clunky, and the graphics were bad, and it overall, right? But at the time, it was really good. It was awesome. It was bloody. It was gory. It was dark. It was fun. We didn't know better, so it felt good. You know what I mean? It felt smooth. So it's one of those ignorance is bliss, but not really ignorance, because we literally we just didn't have the ability to know better. Now you're at a point where people are wanting to relive that magic. So for me, it wasn't Gears 1 as much as it was Gears 2. And I played Gears 1, I played it competitively, but Gears 2 was that magic game, and Halo 3 was that magic game. And then there are younger generations where it was, Halo 4, Halo 5, Gears 3, that was the game that was their magic game. So I think a lot of people want to try to relive that that magic moment, that nostalgia, and they want to see the game go back to that. But even if the game was a mirror image of that, just updated, it wouldn't bring the same feelings. There would always be something that would be different. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. It might bring back some good feelings, but realistically, I think people would understand after a little while that it just it would get old after a while. On top of that, like I said in an earlier question, like Gears 5 has everything it needs to be the best game ever. It felt like the best game ever at the playtest, but since the game has come out, it just seems like there's constant letdowns, whether it be the shop, the ranked matchmaking, the rank system itself. Like all of it just seems so many balls are being dropped that it sucks. It sucks to see because we love this game so much and there's a passion for this game and people want to see it better. But this isn't a thing that's unique to the Gears community. I saw the same every time Riot Games, who makes League of Legends, made a bad decision about their game. The community went nuts and they were getting destroyed on Reddit and social media and being called idiots and flamed and whatever the case may be. So it's not just a Gears thing. It's people who are passionate about a game and think they know, they have an opinion of what is best for the game. And when the developers don't agree with that majority opinion, then, you know, they get vocal. Last question, Ray Kaizen Rivera asked, do you have any practical advice for aspiring pro players who are a little older, 30s and up? If you're a little older, what is it, like your twitch muscles, I think you're gonna be a little bit slower on the reaction times, but you can still kind of train that up. I would say just focus on good decision making and like solid gameplay, because a player, especially in Gears 5, if you can out position and out decision make a more talented mechanically player, you can win in this, especially if you have a good team. So focus on the aspects that you can control, that age doesn't matter. So being a team player, which means communication, positioning, rotational knowledge, stuff like that. Focus on those aspects and worry a little bit less about the mechanics. Just make sure you can hit a shot. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this long episode. I apologize for how long this video will probably end up being of Ask Ashes. I'll come out with an update video sometime soon and maybe a house tour if you guys are interested. I'm starting to get everything set up, so I'll be able to stream and do YouTube content again more consistently. So if you're excited for that, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and as always, I appreciate the support, guys. I will see you all in the next video.